Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another Family Life segment of the Family Life Department with Koto 70 Adventist Church. We are Edward and Debbie Smith, and we have our guest today, none other than Renai Fields-Kraytem. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You
Renai
did, Kraytem.
Yes.
Yes.
And so today we will be talking about grieving while quarantined.
Yes. Such an important topic, given what we see happening in the world around us. Some of us may not be directly affected, but we know others who have been affected. And so we thought it important to bring this conversation, to bring someone who can help us work through the process,
Right.
shed some light on the topic so that we can help those around us. So thank you so much, Renai, for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
And I do apologize because I should have told the audience not just your name, but let everyone knows also that you're a licensed clinical social worker.
Yes. So she is appropriately skilled to help us talk through this topic.
She qualified.
Qualified.
And we just want to thank all of you who have joined us today. Make sure you are sharing this video. The information is so important that we want to get it out to as many people as we can. So
Absolutely.
Tag a friend, tag a family member, tag a coworker, share it, and let's get right into it. So
Let's go.
grief. We're all somewhat acquainted with grief.
Mm-hmm.
We mourn the losses of so many different things. But the face of grieving has changed.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so talk to us about that a little bit.
So grief, what we would describe in a clinical realm would be the acute pain that accompanies a loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is, let's put that as the general definition of grief, the acute pain that accompanies a loss. Now, usually when we think about grief and grieving, we think of it in regards to death and dying.
Mm-hmm.
However, the process of grieving can be also accompanied by the loss of a job,
Mm.
the loss of a pet,
Mm-hmm.
the loss of a relationship, divorce. People go through that when they're going through a divorce. And what we're seeing right now is the grieving process of social isolation.
Yes.
Right? We're social beings.
Mm-hmm.
This has never happened to us, at least not in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure not in your lifetime. So we have things that are easily accessible to at our fingertips. I need lettuce, I can go to the grocery store. I want to go for a hike. Jersey just shut down all the state parks. So that is the grieving that people are going through. Also, the loss of things that they once were able to do. So that is important to just make note. And I think this is going to be one of the most important things that I say tonight in regards to grieving, especially in this time. We're grieving our potential. The things we once had, or what we could have done, what we should have been doing. Literally, today I would have been in Utah, right? I was planning a family vacation to go to Utah. And I had to explain that to my daughter, and she was bummed out about it.
Yeah.
That the potential of what we would have been or what we would have been doing at this time. So people are facing that.
Yeah. And even as you're saying that, I'm thinking about the students, right? The seniors, the high school seniors, the college students. I work on a college campus, and my seniors are devastated. They've worked so hard for 4 years, and now they don't get to, walk down and get their degree and have their family celebrate with them. They're grieving.
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest things. I think when we started off with this quarantine things, we looked at certain groups. The groups we were looking at, the elderly population, what isolation will do for them, do to them and their mental status. We looked at the younger kids who are now being homeschooled by their parents, And then there was that little gap of high school students, especially the seniors who were graduating, and the milestone of graduation from high school and prom has now been taken away from a lot of people, at least in this state of New Jersey. So we have to feed their need, right? And what might be the need at this time? Individuals need to feel like have strategies so they can thrive. So they need to do something so they can thrive. In this moment, I decided to do a virtual prom for high school seniors, right? Mm-hmm. Does it replace the whole aspect of getting dressed up and going somewhere? No, it is what grief is. It doesn't replace something, but it gives you a form of hope, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So I know we were talking backstage, and I'm going to use that term backstage for a little bit, and you opened my eyes to some things that you were saying when we're talking about different category of grieving. And so when we talk about grieving, we always refer to the loss of a loved one via death. But then we talk about financial grieving and other categories. So walk us through financial grieving. What's that? What does that look like?
So that's for individuals who have lost their jobs or may see that the potential to lose their job is coming down the pike. So they start to panic, right? They start to become anxious and depressed, right? The stages of grief are 5 stages. We have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then acceptance. And then I say we start it all over again, right? So they might be somewhere in the line with that. They might be angry that, oh my gosh, I can't believe I worked at this job for 20 years. And now with this, I'm no longer employed. How am I going to feed my family?
Yeah.
So that begins a domino effect of things to come. If I can't feed my family, where am I going to live? Am I going to be put out of my home? There's so many different caveats that go with financial, I call it financial depression. People start to go into financial depression and start to financially panic. And that might be we're in this crisis now, not just the pandemic, but the toilet paper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
People start to panic and look at what they're attaching themselves to, those things, like toilet paper, because they feel that provides some sense of security. And that is what we need to put in the realm of this, is some form of security and safety. And once people can begin to feel safe, the grieving process becomes a little easier.
So what does it take for someone to begin to feel safe in this pandemic? Like, for example, this whole sense of loss of a job. So you don't know what's coming. I work on a college campus, like I said, right? The students aren't there right now. They're not going to be there through the summer. Yes. We're hoping they'll be back in the fall, but who knows? And so how do you begin to regain some sense of security when everything is so unknown?
Yeah, it is hard, because as the days progress and the news cycle continues, we're bombarded with new information on a consistent basis. So what we would usually do when we're triggered with that anxiety, I would call it, right? We have we go to our safety spot, which is overthinking, which isn't that safe either, right? So I say to people, write down what your concerns are. Write it down, literally write your concerns. So I'm concerned about losing a job. That might be inevitable for some people. What is my next step? Let me research what I can do for unemployment. So there's a solution to the thought, right? Once our thoughts are solution-based, then it brings down our stress level. When it's not solution-based, what happens is, we're in Jersey, we know about a joyride, right? Our thoughts go on a joyride, and there's no one chasing it.
Wow.
There's nothing stopping it.
Wow.
So we overthink, and before you know it, stress level goes up, anxiety goes up, you're feeling heart palpitations because you're putting yourself into a panic attack. And then you're going to feel symptoms of the coronavirus, and you're going to say, oh my gosh, is this what it is? I think I have it.
Wow.
Right?
So
psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say, that anything that takes away our security blanket, that thing can create grieving. Right?
Absolutely.
And so no, what coronavirus has done is it has taken away our job security blanket. It has also taken away our loved one, right? That is now the emotional. And not only that, but unfortunately, you can't even mourn the death of your loved one the way that the way normal mourning would look like. You can go to the funeral, etc. and stuff. What comfort do you have? Anyone that is listening that is going through this, what comfort advice would you have for that person?
I would say tailor this moment to you. Tailor the grieving process to you, because it looks different in this time. It is not what I've experienced maybe even 3 weeks ago at the onset of this. It's different now. So you have to tailor and customize grieving to you. No one knows what it feels like to not say goodbye and have the closure they need in the passing of a loved one. I'll share this experience. Just last night, my sister-in-law lost her mother-in-law. And not to the virus, but she lost her mother-in-law. And they weren't able to say goodbye. The last moments that were spent with her was being rushed out of the home on a gurney. So that is what people have to look forward to, that real deep pain that no one has ever experienced. Now you're saying goodbye, and in that moment, when I spoke to her, she said, I felt like it was the last time I was going to see her.
Wow.
So when I spoke to her today, I said, how are you feeling? And she said, I really don't know. It's kind of okay, because if she had known she was sick, she would have been depressed through this process. So that was a form of hope that family used to help the beginning of this process. I asked her, are you guys going to see her father-in-law? And it was so sad. And she said, you know what? We can't take the chances. He was in the hospital for 2 days.
Wow.
So just that, not being able to comfort someone is hard in this moment. She said, but we Zoomed. Optimism.
Yeah.
Right? Optimism is still there. So it is hard. That is the one thing I would advise people to do in this moment, is tailor it to you. So you might find comfort in calling someone. You might find comfort in saying, I need to be isolated. And that is okay. Whatever decisions that you do to help you go through this process that you deem appropriate, don't feel guilty for doing that.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty for doing that.
I'm just thinking about the West Indian culture, right? The West Indian culture, when someone passes away, you have constant traffic in your home.
Yes.
Every night people are coming over. They're cooking food. That's where the comfort comes from. This sense of community, this sense of family, this sense of, I'm not in this alone. Here's my tribe to carry me through. And now you're doing it on your own. So the hospital comes, the ambulance comes, they take your loved one, and you don't get to go in the ambulance with them. You can't go to the hospital and sit by their bedside. Your family members can't come from wherever to sit with you. So there's a sense of grief, not just that this person is gone, but you're grieving that you can't grieve for them. There's so many layers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Ooh.
yes.
And I think that, you know, as my wife just spoke about, I think one of the biggest part or component of the grieving system for us, especially West Indian folks, is the support system. You know, the family that is coming over, and you talk until
2 in the morning,
until
3 in the morning.
yeah, until dusk, you know, and and the process start all over again, and sometimes it goes on for weeks, you know. So it's that support system. And now, because of quarantine, and now that support system have been pulled away from you. You're no longer, so now you're home by yourself, right? And you're grieving by yourself. Yes, you have the phone that you can pick up, you know, and talk to someone on the phone, but it's just not the same when as someone ringing your bell and coming in, and you know, you're just sharing laughter, you know, and you know, there is nothing more comfortable than someone within close proximity to you, where you can touch, you can lay your head on their shoulder, and you can just cry together if you must. You talk about issues together. Now all these things have been taken away from you.
It is, you know, I love it that Debbie said it. You know, we grieve in this moment right now with the COVID-19 virus. We're grieving the process of grieving and mourning and what that looked like, or even having a memorial service or a going home service, whatever you want to call it for those out there. We're grieving the potential. Once again, the potential of how my mother or my father, my loved one, planned their service can no longer be.
Wow.
Can no longer be.
Yeah.
It is one of the, it is devastating on so many levels. And for those who are going through it, you know, they might listen to this and they might get one thing from this. And I'll say this too, day 1 and 2 we're still in shock, right? Day 1 and 2 we're still in shock. Day 3, we're like, oh wow, this is real. Because what happens now is that I don't get a phone call.
Yeah.
Right? I don't get a phone call. I don't get a text message. I don't even get to see a post on Facebook. Whatever your way of communicating and connecting with that person has now been stripped from you. And that is when things get really, that acute pain really sets in at day 3.
Yeah. It's really trauma. Like
it's trauma.
It's trauma.
It's trauma.
Yeah.
It's trauma.
And think about it, Renee, you know, when this is over, there's going to be a lot of post-traumatic disorders. And so, which leads me to a next point. What can we do now to begin to prepare for the aftermath? You know, as a church, as a community. We attend the same church. So when we think about our church, and when we think about who may be missing when we all get back together, when we think about our members who are going to be there hurting in pieces, what can we begin to put in place now
as a church
for the aftermath?
I think right now we can put in place therapy. So with my full-time job, I'm a therapist for a large hospital system. And what we did, we started to contact a lot of people who, I contacted my patients who are diagnosed clinically depressed, who have generalized anxiety disorder. I contacted a lot of older people within the community that are already isolated, much less now. So just to give them a word of encouragement. So we have to do that. Contact our fellow members, our brethren, and say, hey, how are we doing? On Saturday night, you know, we did a chat and chew, just checking in on each other, having a conversation. It was about everything.
Everything and nothing.
It was everything and nothing, but it was so good. Right? It was so good. It was therapeutic for some people. So I think that's what we can start doing right now. This should be a reminder for us as a system, as a church body, that we are stronger together, and we are literally in this together. That is the hashtag that is being used right now. We're in this together, but we've been in this together. Now we have to show how strong we are, reaching out to those who we don't normally speak to.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah.
You're good? I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That helps. That reminds people that I have a community that cares. I have a community that cares.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Yeah, I think that, you know, and you're right, Renee, and so does so is Deb. You know, I think that the face of our church, you know, will forever change after this quarantine has been lifted. The face of family life will forever change, because now all of that falls under the umbrella of family life, you know, and the church at large. So we're gonna have to put some things into place and see what we can do different. You know, I know for a fact that we will be leaning heavily on people like yourself, you know, and those that are in the medical field, because after this is over, it's like 9/11, right? You know, after the dust was after the dust got settled at 9/11, then some real stuff started to happen.
Oh yeah.
And so same thing here, you know, after the dust is settled here, you know, then some other stuff is going to come out, and we as a church,
absolutely,
you know, as a family life department and other departments, we're going to have to come together, you know, and deal with this, you know, head on, because you know, it's like the military, right? You know, leave no man behind. You know, if one person is hurting, you know, the entire church feels the pain, or should feel the pain. And so as a church, we need to figure out how can we come together and help you along the process as you're grieving.
Yes. And this is the perfect time. I don't want to sound say perfect time, but this is the time that we as a community of Black and brown people of color, to start taking our mental health very seriously.
Come on.
This is the opportunity for us to tap into this and say, listen, as important as my physical health is, and we teach the health message, we teach about a plant-based lifestyle, vegan or vegetarianism or pescatarianism, right? We've been preaching that for years. I've been in the church my whole life, and I've come into it, and I'm pretty sure when I go out, I'm going to be hearing about the health message. But we don't talk about the mental part of that, because guess what? If my mind isn't right, if I am stressed, my immune system breaks down.
Wow.
It breaks down. That is a scientific fact. If I am stressed, my immune system is not working the way it ought to be. Right? So this is the perfect time for us to bring attention to our mental health and breaking the stigma that mental health doesn't mean that, you know, you're quote unquote, you know, you have a mental disorder. It's saying, you know what, I feel stressed right now. I'm going through the process of grieving, and it hurts. It hurts, and it's okay to talk about it. It's okay. And and sometimes, you know what, this is when Renee gonna keep it real. Right? Renee's going to keep it real, keeping it real with Renee. This is when we keep it real. Sometimes people don't want to hear, just pray about it, because I've done that. I'm still in pain. And my loved one is still not here. And when I used to pray with them.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
That is so deep.
I think
so deep.
Even the way we do church has to change. The way we do service is gonna have to change. You know, I see the church now, we're gonna be having to do triage on Sabbath morning. Like, we're gonna have to do triage, because people are coming out of this traumatized. And so, you know, all the happy Sabbaths and the hugging, people are not even going to be comfortable to go back to that. And so how do we address it? How do we move forward collectively? How do we put into place the help that folks are gonna need when we get to the other side, because we will get to the other side.
Yes, we will. We will.
And we're gonna get there together, but there's some work that we're gonna have to do.
Absolutely. 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 There's this thing every day. I'm in huddles once or twice a day in meetings, and the workflow changes day to day. And that is what we're going to have to now implement. What is going to be our church flow?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Does this service have to be so ritualistic? And are we feeding the needs of the people? Because those who shout that praise God sometimes go back to a dark place.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable speaking about it with my brethren, because they're going to think that I don't have enough faith.
Yeah.
That my faith isn't strong enough.
Wow.
Right? My faith isn't strong enough. So that is where we have to really tailor even our approach to dealing with others. It is one thing that I hear over and over again. I don't know how many patients I've seen last year. Over 500, 600 patients I saw last year, and over 80%, I would say, are Christian. Right? And they still don't want to be seen coming into my office.
Yeah.
Right? Because of the stigma that we've put in place. Let us break that right now. It is okay to grieve. It is okay to be sad. It is okay. I tell people, you know what? Sit in your sadness just a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't run away from it. Lean into it.
Yeah. And that is so important, Renee, because a lot of times we dictate to people how they should grieve, right?
Yeah. How
long they should, right? What emotion should look like for you, but express your emotion. Express your emotion, and express it in the way that you know how to express it, for as long as you can, because it is your grieving process. It's your cross to bear, right? It is your pain. I can't tell you the severity of your pain, that, okay, this is only an 8, and you're grieving as though it is a 10. Stop that. Allow each other to grieve, express their emotion. What we need to do as a church body, is to put things in place so that we can assist them as they express their emotions, things that help them through the process. I love this scripture. It's a very simple scripture, because a lot of us, everybody knows it, but it speaks to me differently, because for me, I understand when the psalmist says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And why am I? Because the valley of the shadow of death, that is my emotion, that is my grieving, that's a place that I'm going through. But it becomes effortless to me, because I know that God's rod and staff comforts me as I walk through that valley of shadow of death. So therefore, our job as church is to give them a place of comfort. So as they're going through their valley of shadow of death, they shall fear nothing, because they know that there is a support system there for them.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you just preached. That's a whole word right there. That is a whole word right there, Eddie.
It's so key. I mean, we have to get to a place where we allow people to grieve. And so for those of you who are watching, we see the love, continue to share, continue to, let others know that we're on. This is an important conversation, and you might not need it for yourself right now, but you might know someone who needs it.
Absolutely.
So please continue to share.
Absolutely.
One thing? Yeah, go ahead.
We at the Church of the Oranges, we do have every Saturday morning during the 11 o'clock hour, we have a grief share where I assist in that with individuals who have lost a loved one. And it doesn't mean that you lost a loved one today. You could have lost a loved one 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago. You are welcome at this group.
Yeah.
You are welcome with open arms to be free to speak about your process, how you have dealt with it, or how you haven't dealt with it, without any judgment, shame, or criticism. So we have started putting our mental health in the forefront at Church of the Oranges. We've had talks about anxiety and depression, which is really good. So we're starting to see that this is serious. My mental also helps me with the spiritual. When I pray, my daughter even knows it. I say, God, please bless me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, financially, and even sexually, right? If we're in those relationships. But you have to ask to be covered whole, right?
Yeah.
The walk with God is holistic. It's holistic. It encompasses every single part of our being. And if we don't get the mental together, how are we going to say we're walking in the spiritual? Get into it, people. Get into it.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because on Tuesday evening, we're going to be doing a live with a young Christian woman, a single Christian woman, and we're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to be talking about being single and living alone during this COVID-19 epidemic. That's a whole nother
kettle of fish.
And this is someone who has some mental, challenges, anxiety and depression. And so what does that look like for our single brothers and sisters who are by themselves in isolation, who have already dealt with emotional distress in the past? So she's really going to talk to us about how, she has gone through it. And like you said, not just with prayer. Sometimes you need medication. You need therapy. You need treatment. Counseling. And so she is going to talk about what that process has looked like. And
absolutely.
It's important. It's important because we have these people among us in our congregation, and a lot of us don't know how to support them. So we have to talk about
when I said, I wrote it down, and I'm going to read it again. Individuals need healthy strategies so they can thrive, even in the midst of crisis. And sometimes those strategies, yes, we can pray. And I feel the presence of God when I pray. And I'll be honest, not all the time. Sometimes we need something that's tangible. I can touch, taste, and feel. I know that if I call on this person, I hear their voice. That is something tangible. I need tangible things implemented in my day-to-day so I can have these strategies so I can thrive.
Absolutely. And that's why this conversation is so important, and that's why we have to continue having it. It can't be a one-time thing. And that's why, especially churches, we have to begin to think about after. We have to begin to think about after. What are we putting into place? How are we going to support individuals who are suffering from post-traumatic disorders? Because that's what we're going to have, a church full of people who are suffering from post-traumatic stresses. So how do we continue to do that? And I love the fact that you mentioned the grief class at Koto, and we might have to have 4 of them instead of 1.
Absolutely.
It might have to be not just on Saturday mornings. We might have to do it twice a week, and not just for our members, but the community can know there is a place where you can come and you can get the grief support that you need. We have to let it be known that we're here to help.
Absolutely.
I'm just here to remind us that, Koto is not all about the 4 corners of the wall, right? One of our mottos is just going beyond the walls. Right. So of course, having said that, the community has to be involved, and not just grieving pockets, babe, but we're going to have to set up little areas, where, one, because some people are definitely going to need counseling, and so you're going to have to send Tom and John over to their base and what is going on with Tom and John, and then, we have to let people understand that it is okay, like I've stated before, to grieve, don't be so hard on yourself. If you were to lose someone, and you're going through the process, try and build up in your memory happy moments with you and that person. And every time the grieving moment comes along, try and go to that happy place. I remember when Ed would say,
"Don't use your name, babe.
Don't use my name.
Don't use your name."
Listen, but you understand what I'm saying? Just go to that happy place. Go to that happy place. Create something in your life where you can, because the more you become, how should I put it? The more you become disorganized or not being active, is the more that emotional stuff settles.
Absolutely.
So find something active for you to do. Create that new thing and just dive in it and just. So by the time you get home, or by the time you look up, it's bedtime, you just crash, and tomorrow start all over again.
Yeah. That is some good words of advice, and I will also say, maybe not right now, but later on you can start journaling. I'm an advocate for journaling, and when we journal, you don't read it. Because if you read it, what happens is you start to micromanage your thoughts. When you read it, instead of just reading it, closing it, and say, you know what, that's it. In a month or 2 months, you'll see the progress that you've made in your thinking and your feelings. So journaling is really good. Leaning in to tell people, you know what, today I'm sad, and I don't need a word. I just need you to listen. Today I'm sad.
So good. That is so good.
Yeah, it's I'm a big proponent of journaling. My husband and my children will tell you, every corner of my home where I read or where I do devotion, there's a journal. I'm always writing. That helps me when I write my thoughts, when I write my prayers, when I write my feelings. So every pocketbook has a little notebook and a pen. It's therapeutic. It really is.
It is.
Definitely would advise people to use it. And so, as we get ready to kind of start wrapping things up, if you, for those who are listening now, if we had to give some words of advice, like, here are 3 things that you can do through the grieving process, what would those things be?
One would be lean into the grief. To literally say, you know what, I'm sad right now, and I ought to be sad because I'm going through something. And this is grieving in regards to the loss of a job, health, or a loved one. Acknowledge the feeling of sadness. 2 would be, have someone that you can call on when you're feeling extremely low, especially if you're having thoughts of self-harm. Have someone that you can call on. There's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You guys can call. You can go on to the CDC. CDC.gov has great tools and tips for dealing with loss or anxiety and depression during this moment. That is number 2. And number 3, I can't leave without saying, definitely don't forget about the relationship you have with Christ.
Amen.
It is okay to come to him and say, God, I don't understand why you've done this, and I'm in pain right now. I need your arms to just give me a hug. Hold me in your arms, Daddy, because I need you now.
Yeah, beautiful. And what are some things that we shouldn't say to people during this time? Because, we have we want to be supportive,
helpful,
right? And we want to so much let people know about our beliefs where death is concerned. What is inappropriate for us to say to someone who's grieving?
The one thing I will say, and it sounds like, I'll just say it, and I'll do it in my Caribbean accent. You know, sister, you got to have faith. You got to have faith. Well, who's to say that I don't have faith?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's to say I don't have faith? Me being sad does not negate the fact that I do have faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So we have to tailor our words. God got it in control. Really? Because he took my loved one. What was the control then? So tailor our words. Sometimes, you know, the best thing to say is nothing.
Yeah.
My condolences.
That's it.
That's it. My condolences. And that is it. Or you can even say, I tell people, I don't know what to say besides giving you my sympathy. And that is it.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know what to say, but know that I'm here for you.
Right.
For you. Right. And when we say that, right, when we say that, if that person calls, be there for them.
Yes.
Right. And you know, a lot of times we talk about, you know, pray, God is in control. We know that God is in control. We know that for a fact. So when we're trying to, you know, to talk about our pain, don't bombard us with that, you know, God is in control. We know that. Guess what? Jesus, when he was on the face of the earth, he went through some stuff. He went through pain that men went through. And he knew that his father was in control because he was with his father on a daily basis. But the pain became so severe. You know, Jesus, and I'm paraphrasing, you know, Father, wagwan, wagwan, you know, why you leave me alone? Why you left me alone to go through this? You know, Father, why have you forsaken me? You understand me? He said, you know, I can't deal with this pain right now. This is just too much for me. You know, so I tell you what, take this away from me because this is too much. But then he remembered. He remembered the end result. And he said, you know what, Father, not my will. But thy will be done.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that thing about control, you know, we know that God is in control, but in our human minds, we like to be in control.
Yes.
And even when we pray a prayer that leads us in control, right?
Yes.
We want to be the one controlling it instead of saying, not my will, but thy will. So I will pray, and my prayer is, you need to heal them.
Right.
Right? That is the control that we're trying to, not saying that we're not praying for healing, because I definitely think there's that prayer of healing, and it definitely works. God is he's the greatest physician that there ever was and will be. But we are still trying to be in control even of our prayers and dictating where God should send us.
Incredible. You know, this is just such an important conversation that we thought needed to happen right now, because every day, even today on Facebook, I put, you know, every time I come on Facebook, I'm typing my condolences, R.I.P. Like not one day go by that I'm not saying my condolences. And so people are really hurting. They're losing their loved ones, their friends, their coworkers. Some people are going to go back to work, and their coworker who sat next to them is not going to be there.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So again, when we get to the other side of this thing, we're going to have to do some triage. There's going to be lots of damage control. And so those of you who are watching, we want you to know you are not in this alone. You're not in alone. And so Renai, can you share with people how they can get in touch with you? If they need, you know, someone to talk to, they need counseling services, how can they reach you?
They can go onto my website. It is Renai, RENAI, LCSW.com, and just go right down to the bottom and press a button that says select an appointment, set an appointment. Right now, because of this crisis, my services are absolutely free. It will not do me justice to take a fee from anyone when people are also in a financial crisis. So my services are free at this moment. So it's www.renai, that is spelled RENAIKLCSW.com.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, folks,
awesome.
If you did not share this is the time that you want to share it.
Absolutely.
She said her
like
services
right now
are free right
Free.
now.
Free.
FREE.
Right.
free.com.
Yes, and you know what? When you give of yourself in such a way, so unselfishly, God is going to reward
Absolutely.
that tenfold.
Absolutely.
So we
Absolutely.
appreciate you coming on and spending this time with us.
Thank
this
you.
Sunday.
This was great.
And yes, thank you so much. And we do plan on having you back. So know that
Okay.
we will invite you back.
I am here for it. Yes.
Definitely be in touch. Did you want to say anything else before we wrap up? I have a poem that I found that I thought was really fitting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I just want to say, you know, at the end of the day, you know, God understands what you're going through. When no one else understands, God understands. You know, have faith in Him because He knows the pain you feel. You know, like I've stated last week, and I'll say it again. You know, I think yesterday, in one of our YouTube thingy, you know, the songwriter says it best. As a matter of fact, I think Take Six was the one who said that. You know, he says, just over the hill is home.
Mm-hmm.
Just down the road is shelter. Mm-hmm. So when you don't feel like trying, just keep on climbing because over the hill is home.
Oh, yes. And one last thing, I just want to share this to put it in a form of solace, providing some solace and reprieve for people. Grief is the consequence for loving someone or something.
Beautiful.
Love that.
Beautiful. Love it. So I found this poem. It's called The Balm of God's Love. When we lose someone we love, the loss seems too great to bear. God sends us friends to comfort us, to show that He deeply cares. But in the dark hours of the night, when there's nobody else around, when we feel the saddest and loneliest, it's there God's love can be found. It's like a soothing, healing balm to soothe our broken hearts. The healing oil poured over us that flows into every part. We can rest secure in God's love and know He's by our side. He holds us when we feel as though a part of us has died.
Mercy.
We can know that God will listen when we just want to talk. And when we feel we need to cry, we can share it with the Lord. For He is always waiting there, ready with arms open wide. As we pour out the hurt within, He pours His love inside. Our Father above loves us so much and will never leave us alone. He will not forsake us in our need to face this on our own. He comforts us and strengthens us and rubs us with His balm. And as the dawn breaks through the night, we'll awake in His loving arms. May you find comfort in these words. And please remember, you are not going through this alone.
No.
Yes.
We're apart, but we're together. We are in this together.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us, Renai.
Yes.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. And to anyone who's listening right now, I'm sending my condolences to anyone who has lost a loved one, a family, a friend during this this horrible time such as this. My condolences and my sympathies. You can put in, you can say, I need prayer, or you could send the prayer arms and we will pray for you. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
With that being said, we're going to say good night.
Good night.
Have a
good day.
Good day.
Good day.
Good morning. Good
Yes.
afternoon. Whatever it is in the land of which you're listening from.
Yes.
We appreciate you, Renai. We thank you for your service.
Yes.
Especially the fact that you're willing to give your service for free in this moment. We thank you. We love you. We appreciate you.
Love you guys.
We definitely will have you back again.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us for another episode of Koto Family Life. We will see you next Saturday afternoon. Be blessed.
Be blessed.
Bye-bye.